Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, thank you for stopping by. Today's tutorial is going to be how I made these waterless snow globe lanterns. All materials used will be in the description. I'm an Amazon affiliate, so if you do decide to buy anything from the links I provided, just know that I do get a small commission which will help support my channel. Thank you for watching. Now on to the video. Okay, so today's craft I will be showing you how I made waterless snow globes. And so these are just a couple of the ones that I've done already. This one is a bigger size. And I've also done decoupage to that one. And I have a nativity scene in there. And a handmade barn that I did. Very, very cute. And I used buttons for those. And this is another one that I did, much more simple, just kind of like a winter scene. No decoupage on that one, just a simple jar. It can be used as a candy jar or a tea light holder or whatever you want to put in there. So I'm going to be making two different sizes, and it's important to know that the globe part that you're going to be using, depending on the size of the jar, you'll need to get a different size of these. These are just half of ornaments. And also, if you're going to be using, this is a wide mouth jar. If you use a wide mouth jar, then you definitely need to have the bigger size. And I believe this is 80 millimeters. And for a smaller jar, and actually, this is not wide mouth. This is a regular jar. And so the standard one, you need this size, which I believe is a 60 millimeter. Sorry, the camera's kind of shaky. So yeah, if you try to put a big one on that small little jar, it will not fit. And if you try to put a smaller one on the big one, you're going to have big gaps around the edges of the rim. So it's not going to look pretty if you do it that way. All right, so now I will show you how I did this. Thanks. Let's get started. So the first thing you want to do before you do any kind of painting or applying any Mod Podge is you want to clean the jars with alcohol, and that will just make sure that any of the oils from your fingers or any dirt or residue will be off the jar when you start your project. So now what you're going to do is trace a circle around each of the two lids to make sure that the paper is the right size that you're going to be gluing onto the lid. And now just take a pair of scissors and cut the circles out. And so now you're just going to take the paper circles that you've cut out and glue them to the lids. Now I like to flip the lid the other way, only because there tends to be a little dip if you put it right side up. So I flip it and glue it the other way. So now what you want to do is glue the smaller lid into the bigger lid. I'm sorry if I'm being confusing. I have no idea what they're called, but Anyways, this is a preference. Some people like to use hot glue. I hate using hot glue for this type of project. It just never works out for me. It's bulky, it dries fast, so then you don't have time to really smooth it out before it dries, and it just sticks out. And some people use E6000. I have a preference to using tacky glue, but E6000 would probably work great with this, and that's probably what I should have used, but I didn't. But it is also important to remember that you need to make sure that everything is completely secure and dry before you move on to the next step, because you're going to be gluing things on top of this lid. You do not want it to collapse on you. You want it to be nice and secure, and make sure that everything is dry before moving on to the next step. And so now after everything is dry and you start to put your things down onto this surface of the lid, you want to make sure that everything is going to fit before you glue it down. So you can see here that I'm frequently putting the globe over to make sure that it's going to be able to close over the top, because you do not want any gaps, because you're going to be putting fake snow in there, so you want it to be completely sealed. So you need to make sure, and that's kind of the challenge with this project as well, is that these are very small globes, and so you have to find things that are very small that will fit in there. And you know, those trees, I cut them down a little so that they would fit, which is fine. Those little buttons are the perfect size for this. They're the dress it up buttons. And that little barn, I just cut out of plywood, and I used popsicle sticks on the top to make the roof. It's not really a great angle right here, but you'll see in a little bit. There you can see the shape of the barn. And so yeah, you just need to make sure that everything is going to fit before you try to glue down the globe. Okay, remember earlier when I said that using a glue gun is a bad idea? Yeah, don't do this unless you want a bunch of problems. So I did have to end up peeling that glue off and putting tacky glue, or you can use E6000 also, but it just doesn't work. Like when I tried to screw on the lid onto the jar later, because that glue was so bulky, it just wasn't letting me screw the lid on. So I basically had to peel off all of that glue and redo it. And so, yeah, I'm trying to save you the trouble here. Don't do what I'm doing right now. So here I was using this little church figurine, and just what I was talking about earlier, to make sure that things are going to fit before you glue them down. So I didn't realize that the church was going to be too tall for this one. It would have fit the bigger lid, but for the smaller lid, it was too tall. So I ended up, I had another little house, and it was the perfect size for that. So that fit perfect, but just to reiterate, you know, you need to make sure that things are going to fit in that little globe before you glue things down. And sorry, I'm a little out of shot here, actually a lot of out of shot, but I put the snow, the fake snow into the globe, and now I'm putting some tacky glue around the rim. And this is the way I like to do it, just because it's less messy. If you take the lid part and flip it over upside down onto the globe, then when you turn it right side up, the snow is in there and there's no mess. Whereas if you try to do it the other way, it tends to make a mess. The fake snow goes everywhere. And anyway, this is just a much easier and cleaner way to do it. And again, I apologize for the angle. I am filming from above with my phone, so that's why you can't see, and nothing's glued down yet, so I can't lift anything up, you know, for the camera. So hopefully, you know, in the future I'll maybe use a regular camera and I'll have it on a tripod, and that will just make it a little bit easier to see what I'm doing from the front. And so this is the easiest part of the project, where you just simply paint on the decoupage glue or Mod Podge to the jar, and then simply sprinkle glitter over the areas where you've just applied the glue. And so here I've already painted the smaller jar with the chalk paint. I had been filming out of frame, and so when I looked at the footage later, I thought, no, I'm not gonna include that, you know, so you're welcome. So anyways, I have already painted it, and now I'm just applying the decoupage glue so that I can put the rice paper on over that. Or you can use Mod Podge if you want. I like trying different ones just to see if I like them any different. I was using Mod Podge for a really long time, and I don't particularly love the results every time, so I wanted to try a different glue to see if it would make a difference. And if you're wondering why I have a paper towel under there, there's a huge mess of glitter that I got all over the silicone mat, and so I was trying to prevent more of it from getting onto my hands and anything that I touched, and so I mean, the paper towel helped, but I still had a huge mess. And so this is a technique that I use for decoupage. I just put it into the center of the image, and I brush outwards from the center, and that is kind of like a good way to avoid wrinkles or bubbles. And I love rice paper. I think it's great for decoupage. I've used napkins too, and they're different, but that's a good technique. It works well for blending. So now I'm just doing the last finishing touches for these jars, and I'm going to be adding some ribbon. You can use whatever you want. You can use twine. There are so many different colors of ribbon or yarn or whatever you'd like. They all look good, so whatever you want to do is up to you. And just excuse the that foil pan that's behind those. I was working on a resin project and I needed to cover it, and I couldn't move it, so that's what I had to work with, so just ignore that. And I've just added a cute little tea light that I got from Dollar Tree, just a little flickering star-shaped tea light that I dropped in the jar, and it was ready to go. And I decided that I wanted to add a frosty look to one of the globes. And so I just took some chalk paint, the same color that I used for the jar, and I'm just sponging it kind of on the sides and on the back and a little bit on the top, and I'm just mostly leaving the front part clear so that it's easier for you to look in there and see the cute little figurines in there. Now you just add your lights, and I just use cheapy fairy lights. You can use any kind of lights you want. They all look nice. And so this is how it looks. It's really, really cute and pretty. I love it. So here are the waterless snow globe lanterns. I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making these lanterns. I've been making these snow globes for a couple years now, and I will continue making them because I love them. They're so pretty, they make great gifts, and they get me in the holiday spirit, which is always a good thing. So if you haven't already done so, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and leave me a comment below and let me know what you think. And I'll see you in the next video.